Hello, 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 hi. Hi everyone, welcome back. We will wait for our guest to join today. Okay, hi. Okay. Hi Lohit, hi Anthony, hi Parth. Hello. Hi Devendra, how are you?
Hi,
Good evening.
good evening. How are you?
Very good, very good. Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yes,
Clear?
I
Everything?
can. I can.
Okay,
Yes.
great, 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 great. Hi Karthik. Welcome to the show. Devendra, we'll give it one more minute. We'll start
Yes.
exactly
Yes.
at 5. We'll let a few more viewers join in. In the
Sure. Sure.
meanwhile, we can enjoy our tea.
Yes.
So looks like there is no respite right now. Everything in Mumbai is a red zone. This is
Yes.
the only thing we're able
We
to
have
do.
to just wait and
Hi,
hope for the best.
let's hope.
Hope that.
Let's hope. Hello, Hitesh. Hi, welcome. We will start exactly at 5. So please get comfortable. Grab a cup of tea or coffee, and we will start off in another minute. Hello, Medha. Hi. Devendra, can you see the viewers as well? Hello, Krupa.
Yes, I can. I can. Yes.
Okay, lovely, lovely. Okay. Normally Indian Standard Time, so even if we are on time, it takes a
Sure.
couple
Sure.
of
We'll wait.
minutes
We'll
for
wait.
people to join.
No problem.
Okay, great. Krishna Cholas. Hello. Hi, Manoj. Hello. Wisdom Tree. Hello. Okay, we have 11, so we can officially start playing a cricket
Yes.
match.
Yes. Since it's about cricket, we can start with 11. Correct.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, thank you everybody for joining in again, and welcome to the fourth live session of Your Cricket on Instagram. And today we have a very special guest. Uh, he is a cricket writer, an author, anchor, and currently is the head of corporate relations at the International Institute of Sports Management. Please welcome Mr. Devendra Prabhudesai. Thank you, Devendra, for joining us.
Thank
Your
you. My
introduction.
pleasure.
There is a lot more in your introduction, so just give me another minute to cover that. So Devendra began his career with Professional Management Group, which was India's first sports event management company, a concept at that point of time, which I think did not exist in the country at all. Right? Through his journey now, when he's been associated with cricket, he has now authored 8 books on cricketing greats of our country, and we are hoping there are many more of him. We look forward to those. And these biographies include biographies of the great Sunil Gavaskar, the great Sachin Tendulkar, the great Rahul, Dravid, and also interestingly, one of the first umpires from India to stand in international tests and one days was Pilu reporter sir. So very interesting that we'll talk about that as we go ahead in the show. But Devendra was also media and corporate affairs manager at the BCCI for a good 7 to 8 years. And correct me
Yes.
if I'm wrong here, Devendra, but
Yes. Correct.
one very, very interesting thing that I'd like to tell the viewers about Devendra is that he has curated India's first cricket heritage walk. You would have never heard this concept in our country. I'm a big cricket buff, but I have not heard about this concept, and I think this is something that Devendra, you must talk us through, because all of us as cricket aficionados want to know what that is. We want to be able to go there and look at our heritage. Go through the
Cricketing
walk that you have
heritage.
created for. Absolutely, absolutely. Such a unique and novel concept that Devendra has designed. So
Sure.
he 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 will bring us such wonderful insights because he's worked with the BCCI. He now works with IISM, and he's interact with the greats of the game, not just for India, but these are greats for the entire world. Right. So with that said, I think that's a short introduction of Devendra. And as we talk more to him, we'll get a better insight about his life, his how his life has been intertwined with cricket so far, and some more wonderful insights from his interactions with cricketers and the game as such. Right. So again, welcome, Devendra. Thank you very much for being part of Pure Cricket. I will, today I know we are going to be talking a lot, and there will be so many interesting things that I always get so engrossed that I forget to time myself. And that's why I told you the other day that today I'm going to put us on timer, because I know I'll get carried away with all of the things that you're going to tell us. Right. So once again, without further ado, let's begin. If you're good to go.
Yes, sure.
Okay, wonderful to have you with us, Devendra. You've worked with PMG, like I said during your introduction, and then BCCI for a good 8 years, and IISM. So affiliation with sports and me is very, very strong. Can you tell us specifically, because we are very cricket based, so tell us how you got associated with cricket and how has the journey been so far?
Yeah, so born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, and in the city of Mumbai. Most boys, 95% boys, only wanted to do one thing, which was to play cricket. And having grown up on the exploits of Sunil Gavaskar and Kapil Dev, I wanted to grow up and bat like Sunil Gavaskar and bowl like Kapil Dev. And that was my burning ambition. I am a left-hander, so I wanted to become the left-handed Sunil Gavaskar and break all his records. I would regularly attend cricket coaching sessions in the summer vacations. But there was a point in my life when it dawned upon me that while the spirit was willing, the talent was rather weak. Because in the city of Mumbai, if you wanted to excel at cricket and become known as a cricketer, merely being outstanding was not enough. You had to be better than outstanding to stand out as a cricketer in the city of Mumbai, which is India's cricketing capital. And I was also a vociferous reader of cricket books. So I remember an episode where my college team was being selected. I was in Ruparel College and I attended the selection trials. Achrekar sir had been signed on as the coach. And I was about 17 years old at that time. So it was my last chance to, try and make some sort of impact on my cricketing career, start off my cricketing career. And I remember attending the nets and getting my turn to bat, and I got into a fairly good rhythm. I was timing the ball well. And then suddenly this slim, fair boy who was standing in the distance, not participating in the proceedings, he decided to have a bowl. And he took the ball, he marked out his run-up, he came in and let one go. And my middle stump went for a walk before I could bring my bat down. The name of that boy was Ajit Agarkar. And he was a talent, he was a prodigy. We knew that he's going to, he's destined for big things. So that was a moment of truth for me, where I realized that, ye dunya, ye mehfil, mere kaam ki nahi. I would be not dreaming about becoming a cricketer, but possibly doing something else, So then I tried to think about what is the second best thing to playing cricket. And as luck would have it, I did my post-graduation in social work. So absolutely nothing to do with cricket, with a specialization in criminology and correctional administration. But a chance meeting with Mr. Sunil Gavaskar's partner at PMG, Mr. Sumedh Shah, that triggered off a set of events. And I remember visiting Mr. Shah in the PMG office, and I told him that, I had heard a lot about PMG. They used to do this weekly program called Sunil Gavaskar Presents in the 80s, late 80s, on Sunday mornings, where they used to show highlights of memorable test and one-day internationals played in the 80s. And my generation, I am part of the Doordarshan generation. So we were not exposed to any matches that were played out of India. Our only exposure to cricket was matches which were played in India and televised on Doordarshan. So Sunil Gavaskar Presents, that television program, gave us the opportunity to watch the highlights of many matches that we had played overseas and won. So I remember telling Mr. Shah that, I've heard about PMG a lot, and, I had taped all the episodes of Sunil Gavaskar Presents. I used to watch them over and over and over again until the tape, ran out of steam. And Mr. Shah then asked me a few general cricket trivia questions, and I was wondering what was going on. And then suddenly he looked at me and said that, I was planning to put an ad in the newspapers which would simply say that if you think you have wasted your entire life eating, sleeping, living, breathing cricket, then this is the job for you. And then he looked at me and very dramatically said, I don't think I need to put that ad anymore. And
Wow.
that was his offer. And that is how I became joined PMG. I remember he pointed to an empty chair in his cabin and he said, he sits here. And by that time I was totally lost. So I asked him, he who? He said, Sunil sits here, Sunil Gavaskar. I said, oh yeah, fine. And that is how I joined PMG. I met Mr. Gavaskar for the first time in my life a couple of days later, and everything, all the decks were cleared for my appointment. I got to do a lot of content writing. And this may sound ridiculous after all these years, but I remember my first few months in PMG where I would look to my right, and if Mr. Gavaskar was in the office, trying to write his column or send a fax, I would look at him and I would pinch myself repeatedly just to assure myself that this was not a dream.
Not a dream.
I was sitting just a few feet away from my childhood hero. So that is how it all began, and one thing led to another. Then, of course, BCCI happened. So that is how my journey started.
Okay, I'll jump in here and share some insight from my end as well. When you talk about pinching yourself to see whether you are actually living the dream or not, the closest I ever got to meeting Gavaskar sir, and like you said, I am also born in late 70s, brought up in the 80s. So we used to live in Air India colony, and Air India used to have a tournament every year, a tennis ball tournament in the football ground, ironically. And that year, I remember, this was when I was a kid, so mid 80s, I believe. So there was a big, there was a lot of excitement in the colony that somebody is coming. So then we figured out who's coming. We were all, my father, me, we were all cricket buffs. So we got to realize that, at that point of time, nobody bigger than Sunil Gavaskar. Right? Absolutely. Even today, but at that point of time, it was really, really special. And I remember just running when I heard, Sunil Gavaskar sir is coming to give the awards, final awards. I just ran. First thing I asked my dad was, why don't they let employee children play? So if they would have let somebody play, because then maybe there's a chance that you could have gone on. So I was too young then. But I remember this absolutely simple, down-to-earth person coming over, and he was very simply dressed. I clearly remember he was wearing Kolhapuri chappals. Very, very simple, down-to-earth man, and like I said, nobody bigger than Sunil Gavaskar at that point in time. But just the humility that he brought. For us, it was the closest that we could get to him. So I can totally imagine you pinching yourself every day to kind of make yourself and say, not a dream, not a dream. So fantastic. That's a really nice perspective and experience that you shared with us. You talked about the BCCI. BCCI, as we all know, is the all-powerful entity in the world of cricket, and also happens to be the richest board in the sporting world. So tell us some of your experiences with BCCI.
Yeah, so what happened in PMG was that PMG was doing a lot of work with Indian cricket and Indian cricketers. In fact, at that point of time, the two biggest cricketing awards in the world, the SIAD Awards for international cricket and the Castrol Awards for Indian cricket, were both being managed by PMG for those respective clients, SIAD and Castrol. So I got to interact with the cricketing who's who, India's the who's who of Indian cricket, and that is how I mixed and interacted with several cricketers as well as administrators. And one of the prominent administrators of the time was Professor Ratnakar Shetty, who was the first chief administrative officer of the BCCI. He was appointed in 2006 when the BCCI moved into its new building at the Wankhede Stadium. And I was in touch with Professor Shetty for a long time. And it was he who suggested to his colleagues in the board that there is this person who's worked in PMG. I also had a stint as a content manager of a website called cricketforindia.com, which was a cricket coaching website. So I did a lot of work there also. So he said that this person has the credentials, and most importantly, he has the passion for doing a good job as far as the media management and corporate affairs of BCCI is concerned. So it was on the 1st of January 2008 that I joined the BCCI, and I ended up spending 7.5 years there. A lot of things. It would be safe to say that Professor Shetty and I structured the media and communications department of the most high-profile cricket board in the world. There was no media and communications department. So from something as basic as setting up a database of email IDs of journalists whom we had to regularly, keep informed about the developments.
Right.
Setting up a database to managing press conferences, liaising with my counterparts from the other boards when India would tour other countries or when they would come to tour India,
Right.
managing the annual BCCI Awards, managing, writing, compiling the annual reports of the board. That is all that I did. And then, of course, 3 months after I joined the BCCI, the first edition of the IPL was played. So IPL and I entered the BCCI at more or less the same time. So I got to do a lot of work on the IPL as well. I managed the media for the IPL. I had a network of all the venue media managers under me. So we used to regularly be in touch. I used to conduct a workshop before every IPL for all the venue media managers. We would go through the media protocols, the learnings from last time, how to improve, and we would be in constant touch as the tournament went along. And of course, the undisputed highlight of my stint at the BCCI was the fact that I got additional charge as ICC Media Manager India for the 2011 World Cup.
Wow.
So for a period of about 8 months, from August 2010 to April 2011, I was doing two jobs. One, my regular job at the BCCI, and the second one for the ICC. So I got to be part of the recce teams of the ICC at all the venues in India. I was physically present for all the key games of that World Cup. And of course, the icing on the cake was what happened on 2nd April 2011. So, we won. And I was there, I was there in the press box when Dhoni hit that six. So I was in a way part of history. So that is basically what I did at BCCI. The BCCI is, it's a much maligned body, but I would like to officially put on record, based on my personal experience, the BCCI is probably the only sporting body in this country that did its job, which was to promote structure cricket across India. And when I was at the board, I had the privilege of seeing so many new venues come up. You had Dharamsala, you had Ranchi, you had the new venue at Rajkot, Pune. All the fact that you had so many new venues, tremendous infrastructure development, a lot of money being given to the state associations to build their academies and, work on the junior cricket structure. I think the BCCI has done an absolutely phenomenal job. And that is why Indian cricket is in such robust health.
Right. And I'm glad you shared that with us, because, the general perception is only to talk about how much money the BCCI makes. But, the kind of work that goes into developing the infrastructure in a country like ours is
absolutely
massive.
Phenomenal. Yeah. And you must also remember that I think, if memory serves me right, there are 22 domestic tournaments that the BCCI conducts every season for senior, junior, male and female cricketers, starting from the under 16 age group. 22, 23 domestic tournaments from roughly October to March, from Gujarat to Arunachal Pradesh, Kashmir to Kanyakumari. And doing it so flawlessly and so smoothly, running everything so brilliantly. Absolutely, that's the BCCI is absolutely phenomenal. It was an honor to be part of such an institution.
Great. Thank you for sharing that insight with us. We have a question. I don't know if it's related to cricket or not, but one of the viewers, Manoj Kulkarni, wants to know what's in the frame behind you. Is it related to cricket?
That is the World Cup, actually, the 2011 World Cup memorabilia. So the accreditation cards that had been assigned to me, and the sheet signed by the entire Indian team, and a letter of appreciation by Professor Shetty, my boss. So that's basically my 2011 World Cup memorabilia.
Oh, fantastic. Good catch, Manoj. I think you caught the right frame and asked the right question. So thank you, Manoj. Okay, coming back to Devendra Prabhudesai, the author. It's like you said, you getting bold against Ajit Agarkar is a big thing.
He destroyed my dream.
He destroyed your dream. He also destroyed careers of lots of cricketers. He was so fast.
Well, in later years, I could brag. I used to brag in later years. What is common to Saeed Anwar, Sanat Jayasuriya and Devendra Prabhudesai? And the answer was, they have all been bowled by Ajit Agarkar. So I was in August company.
Right. Absolutely. Wonderful. So how and when did you decide that you wanted to write biographies in the area of space of cricket? We understand, yes. But when did you when did this thought come to mind, and when did you start putting it into practice and
Yeah, again,
start the effort?
it all basically luck, and then I guess I was good enough to capitalize on that slice of luck, because 8 books cannot be a fluke. 1 or 2 books can be, but 8 books. So I think I have been fond of writing ever since I can remember. I think my parents and elders inculcated the reading habit in me at a very early age. And people who are avid readers, they often turn out to love writing. So I have been writing ever since I can remember. And I read Sunny Days and Idols, Mr. Gavaskar's books, when I was 7, and that inspired me, and I wanted to write on cricket, and that continued even as I was trying to become a cricketer myself. I always wanted to write something on the game. And then, of course, I joined PMG, where I did a lot of content writing. And you mentioned Mr. Pilu Reporter, the former international umpire. He used to be a regular visitor at PMG. And I mean, I can't call him a friend because he's nearly 30 years my senior. But we had a lot in common. We used to talk a lot about cricket. He used to tell me a lot of stories from his umpiring career. His travels around the world, how he clashed with Imran Khan on the field, Vivian Richards. And one fine day, I said, and he was also the only Indian umpire who was in the 1992 World Cup, the World Cup won by Pakistan. He was the only Indian member of the umpires panel in that tournament. So one fine day I said that, sir, you have, and being a Parsi, Parsis are fantastic storytellers. They are absolutely brilliant. So he had this very, unique style in which he used to present the story, the introduction, the middle part, and then the climax, and I used to be rolling on the floor most of the times. So I asked him one day that, sir, you have so many interesting stories. Why don't you write a book? Because at that stage, I think there were only 1 or 2 umpires who had actually written autobiographies. I'm talking about the early 2000s, 2001, 2, 3, that period. And he said that, what, I have scribbled a lot of stuff, but there is no structure. So then I said, can I help you structure it? So he said, great, do it if you can. So he got this book for me, where he had scribbled a lot of stuff, and I sort of structured it. And then I remember the only person I could think of from the printing point of view was Mr. R.K. Mehra of Rupa Publications, who had published all of Mr. Gavaskar's books. And being in PMG at that time, I knew I had access to Mr. R.K. Mehra's contact details. So I remember contacting Mr. Mehra and asking him whether he would do Mr. Pilu Reporter's autobiography. And he agreed. So that is how that first book came in. I was credited as the co-writer. The title of the book was An Umpire Remembers the Autobiography of Pilu Reporter. And a couple of months after that book hit the stands, I decided that, okay, I had this idea in mind. I had wanted to write a book on cricket, on Indian cricket for several years. So I said that now that I have some sort of an opening with Mr. R.K. Mehra, I think I will broach the subject with him. So I remember it was in December 2004. I clearly remember I called up Mr. Mehra. I wanted to obviously throw my idea at him. But Mr. R.K. Mehra has always been someone who comes straight to the point. So before I could say anything, he threw me a googly by saying that, what, Devendra, I am looking for someone who will do a book on Rahul Dravid for me. Would you know someone who can do it? And it was one of those instances where the tongue reacts faster than the mind. And I instinctively said, sir, can I take a shot at it? And it was only after I had said it that I realized what I had said. And to my surprise, he said, okay, you send me a synopsis and I will let you know. So the next couple of days, I burned the midnight oil. Like a man possessed, I put together a synopsis of what a book on Rahul Dravid would be all about. And then I remember on 24th December 2004, so Christmas Eve of 2004, I got a call from him. He said, Devendra, you are on. That's it. So that is how, my the wildest dream was realized of becoming an author in my own right. So that is how the Rahul Dravid book happened. It was released in October 2005. Luckily, Rahul was appointed captain of India at around the same time. So again, a great stroke of luck. That book went on to become an all-time bestseller. Apparently, it still sells. It was recently updated as well, in fact. And it was titled The Nice Guy Who Finished First. There was never any doubt in my mind as to what the title was going to be. It was always going to be The Nice Guy Who Finished First. Then one thing led to another. I wrote a book on the World Cup. Then I asked Mr. Mehra, it has always been my dream to write a book on my hero, which is Mr. Gavaskar. So Mr. Mehra said, okay, I will talk to Sunil because they have had a long association. Mr. Gavaskar said, okay, let him write it. So that is how SMG happened. And then a few years down the line, we completed the trilogy with the biography of Sachin Tendulkar, which was titled Hero. So it's the nice guy who finished first, followed by SMG, my biography of Mr. Gavaskar, and then Hero, biography of Sachin, and a few other books as well.
Great. So Devendra, you are giving us a lot of examples of the phrase that people use is that the harder you work, the luckier you get.
You can say that.
A lot of hard work that you have put in, a lot of smart work that you have put in, and then the timing, like you say, the timing has been right, but I guess it's a result of all the hard work that you have put in. So
yeah,
all the viewers,
it was great fun because when I was writing the Gavaskar book, for example, it was like when I was researching, it was like going back to childhood because I was going through newspaper cuttings, Sports Star, Sports Week issues of the 80s, which I had gone through all those years ago when I was in school. So it was like being at a school reunion because I could remember some of those passages, some of those illustrations, photographs, some of those newspaper reports. So it was like meeting up with an old friend. So I had a blast basically while writing both the Gavaskar book and the Sachin book. Rahul's book was more like an interim progress report because that book was released in 2005 when he was very much playing. And then, of course, he went on to play for 7 more years. He retired in 2012. So we updated the book last year, in fact. But Gavaskar and Tendulkar, those 2 books were written after they retired. So in Gavaskar's case, it was like going back to my childhood because I was going through all the material of the 80s. And in Sachin's case, it was like going back to my adolescent and college years because I was again going through all the material that I had gone through in college, the newspapers, Sports Stars, special issues of India Today, and so on and so forth. And remembering all those interviews and all those comments by different people about him. It was great fun. I had a blast.
Right. So, how much did you interact with all of these greats when you were writing their book or after you have written their books? And obviously, as a member of the BCCI also, you would have had a lot of interaction with all of these people.
Yes.
So for the viewers, what do you think are some of the learnings that we can imbibe from these greats to be successful in our chosen careers? I'm not just talking about cricket, but often great cricketers have got some great values that you can implement in your life as well.
Application, determination, perseverance. I think those attributes were common to all 3 of them. And basically dedication, I think. Dedication to their chosen profession. I think that is what any professional can imbibe and be successful. In fact, when you asked about them, me being in touch with them, it was a conscious decision on my part not to involve them actively in those 3 books, but I had kept all of them posted regularly. With Mr. Gavaskar, of course, when I started writing the book, he was my boss. During the course of the book, I moved over to the BCCI, but I had kept all 3 of them informed that I'm doing this, because I had a long association with them. And I remember Rahul, before the launch, I remember asking Rahul whether he had gone through the book. And Rahul said, yeah, it's very interesting. So when Rahul says that means it must be a good effort. He's very frugal in his choice of words. Yes. With Mr. Gavaskar, he was very kind to say that, it's bigger than some of my innings and, you've done a good job. And Sachin also had very, very positive feedback. And most importantly, all 3 of them attended the launches of their respective books. So it was very nice of them to have reciprocated that gesture. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great. You did talk to us a little bit about Pilu Reporter Sir's book. What was some of the things that he scribbled? Just give us a flavor of all the books that you've written. Let's say I'll just choose 4 of them.
Yes.
One is about them, and just give us a small taste or a flavor so that the people out there get a taste of blood, so as to say, and go right out there and get those books.
The Pilu Reporter book.
A little bit, a snippet of each of those, or 4 of those. Little bit, some nice flavor.
Yeah. So Pilu Reporter's book, there is, if you'll remember, there was a Nehru Cup tournament played in 1989 to commemorate the centenary of Jawaharlal Nehru. It was a 6-nation tournament. I think apart from England and New Zealand, all the leading countries of that time had participated. Pakistan won, defeating West Indies in the final. And it was a very, it was a very crammed tournament where literally teams had to travel and play matches on alternate days, crisscrossing the country. And there was this absolutely hilarious passage in the book where Pilu reporter wrote of a road journey to, I think, Gwalior. They were traveling by road to Gwalior because they could not get a flight. And the England-West Indies match was to start the next day. And it was, I think, November, it was biting cold. And then the car, he and I think an umpire named Ghosh, they were in that car. And suddenly out of the blue, the car stopped and some police people came running in. They said, "Who are you? Where are you traveling?" And then Pilu reporter said, "Arey wo England-West Indies ka match hai na, udhar jaane ka hai." Police said, "Humko kuch nahi malum." Then Pilu reporter said, "Arey, Madhav Rao Scindia ka match hai." And the police just froze when they heard the name Madhav Rao Scindia. Then they gave them the red carpet. So it was a sleepless night. The umpires reached the venue about 1 hour before the toss. And no day-night matches those days. The match had to start at 9 a.m. Luckily for Mr. Reporter, he was a standby. He was not supposed to be on the field. And a former India captain, I will not name him, he caught hold of Pilu reporter. He said, "Arey, I want you to come to the commentary box with me. I'm doing the commentary." So Pilu reporter said, "Why do you want me to be in the commentary box?" He said, "Look, I don't recognize all the players. So whenever I cannot recognize someone, I will nudge you and you recognize him for me." So that entire, match, Pilu reporter was sitting next to this former India captain, and there was a cool breeze blowing, and they had spent a sleepless night. So Mr. Reporter kept dozing off, and this captain would keep nudging him. "Ab ye pehchano, ye pehchano." So that is how the captain was able to do his commentary. Then, of course, he's written about a clash with Vivian Richards. I think there was a test match in Kolkata where Vivian Richards did not agree with one of his decisions, and there were some words spoken. And I think Mr. Reporter told him that, "Look, in India, we call you King Richards, so please behave like a king." And Richards got the message. So such instances were there. Rahul Dravid, of course, I have mentioned specifically in that book. There was a phase in 97, 98 where people believed that he was not good for one-day cricket. He was considered a test specialist. And there was a triangular series involving Bangladesh and Kenya, India, Bangladesh, Kenya, which was played in May 1998. And all the bench strength of Indian cricket was given a chance in that tri-series. And there was a match at Wankhede against Bangladesh. And Rahul had been recalled to the one-day side for that match. And I think Bangladesh batted first, were bowled out very cheaply, 110, 120 something. And Sachin was also in the team, and Sachin got India off to a flying start. I think in about 10 overs, we were already halfway through. We had crossed 60, 70, and then Sachin got out. And Rahul came into bat. And Anshuman Gaikwad, who was then the coach of the Indian team and who was one of the people I interviewed for my book, I remember, he told me that he had told the selectors that, Rahul is good for one-day cricket, so give him a chance. I'm sure he will deliver. So Rahul went in. And the spectators had all been, their appetite had been whetted by Sachin's big hitting. So they wanted the match to finish. But it was one of those days when Rahul just couldn't time the ball right. And every stroke he hit, the ball kept going to the fielders. And finally, after scoring about 1 run in 21 balls, he was bowled. And you wouldn't believe it, but the whole of the Wankhede Stadium, 40,000 people, jeered him off the wicket. I was there. I was at the Wankhede. At that stage, I did not know I'm going to write a book on him, but I was there. It was a very terrible thing to happen to an individual of his stature. He was booed off the field, and apparently Gaikwad was told by the selectors later on that, we told you, he's useless. He can't play one-day cricket. But then, of course, we all know what Rahul went on to achieve. And 7 years down the line, the same Wankhede Stadium, India were playing South Africa in a one-day game. Rahul was the captain of India, and I think Rahul hit the winning runs. And the whole of the Wankhede Stadium, the same Wankhede Stadium, gave him a standing ovation. So that is what Rahul Dravid was all about. So that's something that I have captured in the book. When it comes to Mr. Gavaskar, there are so many incidents. One that I will share, which is very dear to my heart, one of my favorite Gavaskar anecdotes, which is also part of the book, is that when we had gone to Pakistan in 82-83, that series in which Imran Khan routed us completely, took 40 wickets, we lost 3-0. There was a function organized, and Mr. Gavaskar, the captain of the Indian team, and Fateh Singh Rao Gaikwad, who was the manager of the Indian team, they were standing at the entrance welcoming the guests in that function in Pakistan. And a car pulled up, and a very elegantly dressed lady emerged from the car and made her way towards the entrance. And seeing her, Fateh Singh Rao Gaikwad, the manager, went up to her and wished her, "Good evening, madam. How are you?" And then he looked at Mr. Gavaskar and said, "Mohtarma, aap inhe jante hain? Ye hamare kaptan hai, Sunil Gavaskar." And that lady just looked through Mr. Gavaskar and said, "Hum to sirf Imran or Zahir Abbas ko jante." It was a kind of an insult.
Yeah.
Fateh Singh Rao Gaikwad was slightly embarrassed, but he regained his composure and he said to Mr. Gavaskar, "Sunil, aap inhe jante hain? Ye hai Mallika Tarannum, Noor Jahan." Gavaskar looked Noor Jahan straight in the eye and said, "Nahi, hum to sirf Lata Mangeshkar ko jante hain." That is Mr. Gavaskar for you. Never take a backward step. And Sachin, of course, also with Sachin, I think it was my book was the most personal of all the books I've written, because I had not all the other heroes, whether it was Gavaskar or Kapil Dev, I had followed them from the time I was a schoolboy. But when it came to Sachin, I had followed him from the time even he was a schoolboy, because we had been reading in the mid 80s. If you were a kid in Mumbai and you were interested in cricket, you could not miss Sachin Tendulkar in the papers, because being a sports lover, you would always read the paper backwards. And when you would go through the sports pages, always inter-school, Sachin does this, Sachin does that. Sachin out for 0. That also used to be a headline. I mean, Sachin failing in the odd match also used to be a big news. So it was hardly a surprise to us that, he was picked to play for India at the age of 16 in Pakistan, for the tour of Pakistan. So Sachin's book also is, had a lot of interesting anecdotes, like the time when the selectors were debating about his selection in the team to Pakistan. So 3 of the selectors were wanting to pick him. The other 2 were a little apprehensive that, what if he fails? And then Naren Tamhane, the late Naren Tamhane, told Raj Singh Dungarpur, the chairman of selectors, "Mr. Chairman, Sachin Tendulkar does not fail." And that is how Sachin made it in the team. And of course, the rest is history.
Wow. That's something to have so much confidence on such a young person.
Yes.
I know, phenomenal talent. And I remember, our cricket coach at that point of time, Mr. Shekhar Warakar, who used to manage the Air India team at that point of time. And, we used to play junior cricket. I used to play in the cup for him, and we were walking on the Indian Islands ground one day. So he just picked up somebody threw a ball at him. We were just walking. We were planning for the next day's game, and he caught it. So I just looked up to see who this gentleman was. It was Vinod Kamli. And so I said, "Okay, sir, I'm going." Then when I met him, I said, "Do you know him?" "How do you know him?" Rather, I said, "How do you know him?" So he said, "You know what, Sachin and these guys, they have played in the team when they were very, very young." And he gave me an incident when the Air India team was playing. There used to be a tournament in Lonavala, somewhere around that, called Charminar Trophy or something, corporate. And 3 top order batsmen had gotten out on a match wicket. And Ranji Trophy players from Maharashtra were playing on the other side. And they were bowling really quick. And these guys were really worried. Young boys, what will they do? And so while he said, and I was just watching, because they went in with such confidence and they just thrashed the bowling like it was junior level school cricket, and they came out and they won us the game. So that exceptional talent that we talked about, a few have been lucky enough to witness it at that young an age. We've been able to see Sachin only when he's come to the stage when he started playing cricket for India. But very few people have been.
I was lucky. I remember in the summer vacation of 1988. So at that stage, it was 2 months since that famous partnership of 664. That happened in February 88, and April 88. I used to go for cricket coaching at Shivaji Park in Anna Vaidya's nets. And I remember one day we were doing fielding practice, and our coach pointed to these 2 boys in the distance. You see that fair boy over there, and the guy next to him, that is Sachin, and that is Vinod Kamli. So I have for a brief while practiced on the same plot of land I mean, Sachin and
Wow.
I would have batted at around the same time. He in Acharekar sir's net and me in Anna Vaidya's net. So that is something that I consider very, it's an honor.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Um, I am going to ask you to talk about something that I found very, very unique when we first had our discussion, and something that every cricket lover should know about. But unfortunately, even for us who follow cricket regularly, we don't know about this, and this is something that we should most definitely know. So to the viewers, Devendra has a curated cricket heritage walk in the city of Mumbai. As a cricket enthusiast, I think I am a little embarrassed not to know about it. So I think, Devendra, we must do more for people to know about this, and I think you should please, if you use this platform, to let us know how you thought about this in the first place, because it's a very unique thing to come up with. And just I would say, walk us through the walk that you have created, and tell us how we can enjoy this experience. Once the lockdown is over, I know for sure that I want to do this. So talk to us about how you came up with this, and how, as a commoner or somebody who's passionate about cricket, can actually go and participate in this and enjoy it.
Yeah, so the point is that Mumbai is the only city in the country, in the world in fact, where you have had as many as 3 grounds which have hosted test matches within a radius of 1 kilometer of each other. We obviously know Wankhede, we know Brabant, but also the Bombay Gymkhana ground. That's all with a radius of 1 kilometer. There's a company called Hop On India, which have designed an app where you can download these walks. And they obviously came up with the usual walks: Gateway of India, Varanasi, Kolkata, South Mumbai. And then the idea of a cricket walk was born, and I was roped in to design that cricket walk. So what we did is, trying to tell the story of the origins of Mumbai cricket, and in fact also the origins of Indian cricket, on a walk that lasts for about an hour and a half, starting from Azad Maidan. Then we go past the Bombay Gymkhana. Then there's the Cross Maidan. Then we go to the CCI. From the CCI we walked up to Wankhede, and then we proceed to the 3 Gymkhanas on Marine Drive, which is Parsi, Hindu, and Islam. So it's an hour and a half long walk, and obviously the entire journey is peppered with interesting stories of how it all began, Mumbai's contribution to Indian cricket, something about that test match that happened at the Bombay Gymkhana, where Lala Amarnath became India's first test centurion. So we would stand in front of the Bombay Gymkhana, and the story of that match would be narrated. Then going to the Cross Maidan, walking past the Parsi well. So obviously talking about the Parsis who played cricket for India. Then you get on to the Veer Nariman Road, which has the old BCCI office. And then leading up to how the CCI was born in 1937. Then going on to the CCI. Then of course that big dispute between the CCI and the Mumbai Cricket Association, battle over tickets, battle over seats. And then how ultimately the Mumbai Cricket Association said, okay, we will build our own stadium, and that is how the Wankhede came up. Then, of course, ending at the Parsi, Islam, and Hindu Gymkhanas, which were set up in the 1890s by Lord Harris, the then governor of the Bombay province, to enable the Indian communities of that time to play cricket. Those Gymkhanas still stand. And Lord Harris, who was responsible for those Gymkhanas being instituted, Parsi, Hindu, and Islam, he has been immortalized by the under 16 cricket tournament, inter-school cricket tournament, being named after him. The tournament is played for the Harris Shield. So that entire story, starting from Azad Maidan, to the fact that Indians first observed the Europeans, the British play on the Azad Maidan, which was then called the Esplanade Maidan, how they started imitating the bosses, the British. They started playing cricket themselves, the Parsis, the Hindus, and then the Muslims. And then, of course, one thing leading to another, test cricket, then the CCI, followed by the Wankhede, and then the clubs. So that, and a lot of stories. I mean, you have to take that walk. You have to download that app to just relish that walk to its fullest.
Okay, so if one wants to go and enjoy that experience, you have to download the Hop On app. Is it
Hop On app and just buy the cricket walk, which has been designed by me. The commentary is also mine. A lot of interesting stories.
Okay, lovely. So for all the viewers out there, I will reiterate that you can go and download the Hop On app from the
Hop on India.
Android store. Hop On India, I believe available for both Apple as well as Android. And please do enjoy this experience. I know that as soon as the lockdown is over, I will, for sure. And I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic experience. Thank you so much, Devendra, for sharing that with us. Now we come to that section of our discussion where your cricket knowledge will be tested. I don't think this is going to be difficult for you at all, given your affiliation with not just Indian cricket, but world cricket. But you get 10 points for each correct answer. We've had 3 participants on the show so far. Satish Samant has got 9 out of 10 points. Amok Pandit, who's got 1 chance so far, has got 8 out of 10. And let's see how you do. You might be the first one to score 10 on 10.
Let's see.
Then we'll have a toss to decide who wins at the end of the season.
Yes,
okay,
sure.
So, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. First question. As a wicketkeeper, who has the highest number of dismissals in the history of Test cricket? This is across countries, right?
Yeah.
Not specific to Indian cricket only, but I'll repeat the question. As a wicketkeeper, who has the highest number of dismissals in the history of Test cricket? You can ask for a clue also. There is no negative marking.
No, I think it is. I think it is Mark Boucher, South Africa.
Okay, that's correct. Do you know the number by any chance?
550 something. 500.
So he's got. He actually could have worked for a Benson ad. It's 555.
Oh, and he could have got more had he not lost an eye. I think his career ended because of an eye injury.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Second question. This is going to be very easy for you. Who has the highest number of catches in Test matches?
The nice guy who finished first. Rahul Dravid. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Rahul Dravid, 210 matches, 210 catches in 164 matches, Test matches. Okay. This is going rather fast. Okay. Name one international player who has represented 2 countries at ICC events. The trick part is, besides Kepler-Wessels and Owen Morgan. Besides Kepler-Wessels and Owen Morgan, who is one player?
I think there's this bowler who played in the IPL also. Nannes. Dirk Nannes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dirk Nannes is right. Apart from Ian Morgan, Owen Morgan and Kepler-Wessels, Dirk Nannes has played for Holland as well as South Africa. So 100% so far, 3 out of 3. Okay. Fourth question is, which team has the highest win percentage in ODIs? Highest win percentage. Don't need to give us a percentage. You can just give us the team. That's perfectly fine.
That's a tough one because Australia?
Yeah, absolutely right.
Have to be, 5-time champions. So, yeah.
So, Australia has a staggering 63.33% win percentage rate. They have played 949 ODIs and won 575 and lost 331. Now, I'll be honest with you, the questions were more difficult for you than the others because of I knew that you would bring a lot more knowledge in terms of history and numbers than the other 2. They are more physically involved in the game.
Yes.
So let's go on to the 5th question. Who is the fastest Test centurion ever?
Okay. Was it? Oh. Was it McCullum? Brendan McCullum?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
I was confused with him and ABD Villiers, but yeah, Brendan McCullum.
Yeah. I think ABD might have...
I am a witness to Brendan McCullum's 158 in the very first IPL match at Bangalore. I was there at the Chinnaswamy Stadium. Oh my God, it was what an innings! I mean, it was. I mean, that sort of set up the IPL for posterity. You know, that was an explosive beginning.
Absolutely.
Amazing
innings. Yeah, I remember the innings as well, and it was like, oh my God, what's this? What's happening?
What's happening?
Thrashed everybody all around the ground, and I think the expectation since that has been that the batsmen are going to go out and crash everybody all around the place.
Yeah,
But that was
the
his brilliance.
best possible start to the IPL that anyone could have wished for.
Expected, yeah, absolutely. So 54 balls versus Australia, that too, at Christchurch in 15-16, and New Zealand is actually a very tricky place for other countries to play in, right?
Yes.
So, but since it was his home ground, he did that against Australia, which is a brilliant feat, absolutely brilliant. Okay, I always ask this one question, and it's always contested because I will tell you why, but I'll ask you the question now. Youngest Test double centurion.
Oh, that's I had the privilege of ghosting his newspaper columns for 2 years. The one and only Javed Miadad. What a character! I from roughly 2004 to 2006, when I was working in PMG, PMG used to syndicate his columns in Indian papers, and I was his host. So I used to call him in Pakistan, and then we used to talk, and it was amazing. I mean, what stories, what a character!
So I always put in the question, and to be honest,
we loved to hate him. In my childhood, he was the cricketer we loved to hate, but actually we secretly loved him, respected him, and wished that somebody like him would have been in the Indian team of that time. And I am a witness to that last ball six. I still vividly recall watching on television him hitting that last ball six. My God, Miadad was the ultimate enemy.
Absolutely. Such a tough
I told him this when we used to speak, so he enjoyed that.
So the reason why I always, when I come to this youngest question, and whenever I look up something to come up with a record, I know in my mind that 99% of the time this is going to be attributed to somebody from Pakistan. Because I think they just stop aging after 16, or I think, before they start speaking.
Yes, so then something happens, yeah. Shahid Afridi, it happens. Something goes wrong.
Anyways, I think they just pause the calendars for that person for a while. But anyways, we'll not contest it. It was Javed Miadad, 19 years, 140 days versus New Zealand at Karachi, 1976. Okay. 6 out of 6. Very nice. There is only one bowler to have featured under the category best figures in an innings on debut. Right? This is very unusual because best figures in an innings on debut. He has featured twice. He is the only bowler.
Yeah, Narendra Hirwani.
Absolutely.
Should have played more. In fact, the interesting thing about that match against the West Indies at Chennai is that it was Ravi Shastri's only test as captain of India. And and beating the West Indies in a test match in those days, 87-88, was a big thing. It was a massive thing. The West Indies were the uncrowned world champions of test cricket. But beating them in a test match in those days was huge, and that is what we did thanks to Hirwani's 16 wickets on debut and a century by Kapil Dev.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the amount of turn that Hirwani would get off the track was absolutely amazing. I remember this as a kid. We would have practice sessions at the Indian Airlines cricket ground. Now the Indian Airlines cricket ground does not have too much did not have too much grass at that point of time. And the under 15, under 17 kids, we were practicing on one side. And Hirwani sir came, and we were just standing there, and he said, "Okay, so sir, can you help us with the action and something of the sort?" So I said, "Sure." He said, "Bowl a few balls or something of the sort." And he had to literally pitch the ball outside of the track for him to go anywhere close to the stump on a track that did not have any grass. A massive amount of that. And he was the only one with that unique sort of action at that point of time.
Unique, absolutely. And he was, in fact, a member of the selection committee when I was in the BCCI. The panel chaired by Shrikant. Narendra Hirwani was one of the selectors. So I got to interact a lot with the selectors when I was in the board, because they would invariably have their selection committee meetings in the office, and then we would have snacks together. So I remember once asking him, "Sir, leg spinners kyun nahi mil rahe hain?" This was before Kuldeep Yadav came on the scene and Chahal came on the scene. Because Anil had retired, and we were looking for a leg spinner. And I asked him, "Sir, leg spinners क्यों नहीं मिल रहे?" And he just looked at me and said, "Devendra, वो क्या है ना, थोड़ी मेहनत ज़्यादा करनी पड़ती है." Problem वो है. That's
Absolutely
said it
right.
all.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great. We'll move on to the next question. This also should be fairly easy for you. Which Indian batsman was famously called Bombay Duck?
The person who destroyed my cricketing dreams, Ajit Agarkar.
Absolutely, absolutely. He had a horrendous run of ducks. You know, you would just expect that as soon
it
as
is
you
one
came
of
to
those
the
things. But we should never forget that the same Ajit Agarkar won us a Test match in Australia at Adelaide, 6 for 41. I mean, Rahul, of course, Rahul and Lakshman batted beautifully in that game. But Ajit Agarkar set up that match with 6 wickets in the second innings, and then of course the century at Lords. Some of the greatest names in the history of Indian cricket have not scored a Test century at Lords, but Ajit has done it. So, you know, I'm very proud that I belong to the same generation as him.
Great. I think the more you know, achievements that he has, the better story you have for saying that I got bowled over by that guy.
Yes, of course, of course.
But that was phenomenal. Even Sachin, I believe, has not got a century at Lords, and Ajit
Not
did.
in a Test match. There was a one-day game played to Princess of Diana Memorial match between MCC and the World 11 in '98, and Sachin was captaining the World 11. So he had players like Wasim Akram playing under him, and Sachin scored a match-winning century. That is his only 100 at Lords.
So he did get one finally.
He did get one, yeah.
Okay. Everything correct so far. 2 more to go. And as far as time goes, we have another 5 minutes to go. So I'll ask these 2 questions quickly. Highest man of the match award winner in Tests.
This would have to be an all-rounder. Gilchrist or Kallis?
Yes.
Leading all-rounder of the modern era.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think being born among the greats and played among the greats, he kind of got a sideline and did not get as much credit as he should have. But Jacques Kallis has 23 man of the match awards from 166 that he played. But brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Not just
and all-rounders always have an advantage when it comes to individual awards because they are competing in 2 departments.
Absolutely. Okay, last question. Which player has over 4,000 runs in Test cricket without scoring a single 100?
The greatest leg spinner of all time, Shane Keith Vaughan. Larger than life. In fact, I conducted his last press conference as an IPL player. He played his last IPL season in 2011, and Rajasthan Royals' last match of that season was at Wankhede, and he came for that press conference. So I conducted that media conference of his.
Okay, lovely. Great. So you've got 10 out of 10. Nobody can do better than that. I think I have to increase questions now.
Thank you very much.
So Devendra, I think we have about 3 minutes left now. But this was really a lot of fun for me. I'm sure for the viewers as well. And we got to know so many insights that we would have not otherwise known. I want to thank you for being part of this and spending some time with us talking about the game that we so much love. But at times know only what is commercially out there. But thank you so much. And there's something. If there was something that you would like kind of message that you would like to deliver to the viewers, what would that be? We'd like to hear from you.
I think just follow your passion and be dedicated, be committed to your chosen goal, and you will end up achieving it even before you realize it. Yes, luck plays a part, but then as you said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. So just focus on your chosen goals and you will do it. The skies, you will achieve what you want to do. Just focus, penance, patience, and perseverance. They will never go waste.
Absolutely. Fantastic. I think that's a fantastic message for all of us to take away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link of all the books that Devendra has written post. We put this on the YouTube channel as well as Facebook. Please go ahead, buy those books, read those books. I know I'm going to get copies as well and I'm going to really enjoy them. So thank you once again, Devendra, for being part of this, and to all the viewers out there, stay home, Stay safe and see you on the field soon.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Sandeep. My pleasure. Cheers. Bye. Bye. Thank you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.